Not long ago, Andrew Yang would have considered his presidential campaign a success just for having injected a discussion of job automation into the race. He was a novelty candidate, a single-issue candidate, known as much for joking around on the debate stage and for viral videos. But now that Yang has outlasted a number of more conventional and better-known rivals and achieved surprisingly robust poll numbers and fundraising totals, his campaign has started to dream about what could happen if their candidate could transcend his novelty status. So when Yang's top staff gathered at the end of December, his campaign chief, Nick Ryan, made clear that the strategy for the final weeks before voting starts would be to present our guy as President Yang, Commander-in-Chief Yang. How do you do that when Yang is the $1,000 a month guy, not the bilateral summit guy or the situation room guy? He's the candidate who loves to crowd surf, whose fans meme him into Obi-Wan Kenobi robes. He is our only hope, who wears his thick blue and red campaign scarf everywhere he goes. Can he convince voters he's Commander-in-Chief material while continuing to indulge in the oddball routine to which he ascribes much of his success so far? Yang is the only 2020 candidate thus far to put a universal income front and center, and his campaign says it's been key to attracting support. But it's probably not a strong enough issue to propel Yang to victory on its own. A Gallup poll from 2017 found the concept to be divisive. 48% supported a universal basic income, while 52% opposed it. Support was higher, 65%, among Democrats, but not overwhelmingly so. So how might Yang expand his coalition to win? Well, let's start off with the story of a man named Jason Waltz. Jason Waltz had never donated to a political campaign before, but after he saw Andrew Yang in late August on the H3 podcast, a comedy podcast show, Waltz shipped the campaign $20. He seemed very genuine, Waltz said of Yang. I think that's a difficult quality to find. Within a week, Waltz, 34, who is from St. Leonard, Maryland, started laying the groundwork to create a local Yang Gang chapter in southern Maryland. Waltz's story is like that of many other Yang supporters. They maybe didn't know much about him a year ago when Yang launched his campaign. They heard him on a podcast or something similar. They liked him, and then they got involved. While Yang's future in the ever-changing primary race is unclear, his candidacy has undoubtedly made a mark on the Democratic primary and possibly the electorate for the general election. Yang has honed in on a message of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, touted the need for a nationwide universal basic income, and boasted about his ability to reach voters who have become disaffected by national politics. But as the qualifications to reach the debate stages continue to tick up and the race speeds toward the first-in-the-nation Iowa caucuses, candidates face a narrowing window of time to make their case to voters. Yang has to harness the energy of a diverse coalition of newly activated voters while also appealing to the broad Democratic electorate. In a field of more than a dozen candidates, the time to stand out is now. That being said, let's take a look at the things that give Andrew Yang a chance to win it all. Yang understands the problems. Yang started out as a serial tech entrepreneur before announcing his candidacy in November 2017. The last organization he founded is Venture for America, which is running since 2011. The idea of VFA? To make talented young people stay where they are needed most and enable them to create new job opportunities in economically weak regions. Until today, the mission of VFA is a great success. More than 700 top college graduates joined a 2-year fellowship program, creating 2,500 jobs in cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Although Venture for America is a huge success, after 6 years, Yang came to a discouraging conclusion. All the jobs VFA helped to create are a drop in the ocean. He realized that automation is and will be the main reason for people's job losses, and that we will face a technological revolution where fewer and fewer people will be able to compete with the productivity rates that machines can achieve. our current economic system, capitalism, will stop to value many domains of human labor as it simply needs less and less of it. Various studies provide support for this thesis. According to McKinsey, Bain, and MIT, this technological revolution will be 3 to 4 times faster and more dramatic than the Industrial Revolution. They project that 20 to 30% of US jobs will be subject to automation by 2030. The trends are clear, however, little seems to be done. Understanding what is coming at us, Yang reached out to many politicians in Washington in order to address the problem. However, according to Yang, they were not listening or didn't take him seriously. After that, Trump becoming president in 2017 was the tipping point that pushed Yang to become active on his own. Since then, he reached out to many people who are working in those industries that will be affected by the upcoming technological disruption. Workers and employees such as call center agents, retail workers, and truck drivers will be impacted the most. But also jobs that require higher education will be automated. Yang talked to them, mostly the truckers, and tried to get this message across. The American dream that one can achieve everything one wants through hard work and diligence is disappearing bit by bit. Or, to say it even more clearly, the truck will drive itself no matter how good of a truck driver you are. Yang has a vision. Although the scenario described above sounds frightening, there is actually no reason to be afraid of the future, if we plan it well. Analyzing the situation, it seems obvious that due to technological progress and automation, we are able to create much more goods and services while working less. Basically, the pie gets bigger and bigger, making the question, who gets a piece of it and under which conditions, all the more salient. Yang's answer to this question consists in what he calls human-centered capitalism, a new form of capitalism that is geared towards maximizing human well-being and fulfillment based on the 3 following principles. 1. Humans are more important than money. 2. The unit of human capitalist economy is each person, not each dollar. 3. Markets exist to serve our common goals and values. Yang's idea of a human-centered capitalism tackles fundamental flaws in the system, such as the way we currently define and measure national wealth, the concept of gross domestic products, or GDP. To understand why GDP is a poor way of assessing the well-being of a nation, consider the following examples. If a person digs a hole and another fills it with sand, both get paid. GDP, and therefore our economy, grows. If someone spends $10 million buying a yacht while 10,000 people lose $100 in donating to a local charity, GDP, and therefore our national wealth, will still grow by $9 million. If you raise your kids and do volunteer work for homeless people, GDP won't move a bit. These examples reveal how we are perceiving each other's value in society as of today. We are rewarding and admiring those who are successful rather than those adding value to society. If you're a professional poker player, able to make millions by playing a game better than others, you will be viewed as a truly successful person, although you didn't generate any added value to society. Yang is the perfect candidate against Trump. Not being an ideologue, but a pragmatic problem solver will give Yang a strong leverage against Trump. Yang himself is joking that the opposite of President Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Sounds funny, but has a core of truth. Yang is actually not spending much energy on anti-Trump talk. He is rather putting the emphasis on ideas, policies, problems, and solutions. This leaves the door open for many people to listen to him instead of putting him into an ideological box. And indeed, his current supporters come from a very wide political spectrum. Yang's ideas attract liberals, conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, and those who supported Trump in the last election. A characteristic that distinguishes Yang from Trump and that I personally appreciate is his light-hearted way to deal with criticism and verbal attacks. He can laugh off attacks and seems to never take them personally. Yang can also laugh about himself. For me, a great personality trait. Besides his unquestionable qualities as a debater, these traits will also help him to win against Trump once he becomes the Democratic nominee. Not left, not right, forward. Andrew Yang can change the narrative of left versus right. He often emphasizes that the concept of left versus right will not bring society any further, whereas a competition of political ideas is great. The current political climate of Democrats versus Republicans seems very toxic because neither party gives any credit to the other, no matter how good an idea or policy might be. To me, Yang appears as a problem solver with a nonpartisan, pragmatic mindset, which makes it easy for him to talk to, listen, and convince people from all political camps and create common ground based on ideas and policies, not ideology. If a dude can unite a YouTube comment section, he can unite a country. So far, Andrew Yang did a pretty good job at convincing prominent people from different political camps of his ideas. Yang was a guest at the Ben Shapiro Show, Tucker Carlson Tonight, The Joe Rogan Experience, Cenk Uygur, Sam Harris's Making Sense podcast, The Jimmy Dore Show, and many more. Together, they are covering a broad spectrum of the political scene from left to right, if we stick with the terms Yang tries to avoid. The YouTube comment sections under the above-mentioned interviews speaks volumes about how people perceive Yang and his ideas. If you have any idea about what the comments usually look like when a Democrat debates Ben Shapiro, you will be surprised at how overwhelmingly positively Yang was received. So, that concludes our list. Is there anything you think was missed? If so, make sure to let us know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe for more Andrew Yang content like this.